it just suddenly stopped. Sorry. Here, these are three pictures here. So, who, uh, right now, the first picture is Park Jong-hee. So, Park Jong-hee, he is the main leader for South Korean development. That so we are talking about development state. It starts 1960. Who hold the power during the 1960s and 1970s? Park Jong-il. So Park Jong-il was killed in 1979. I chose this picture because I wanted to show that he used to work for the Japanese colonization state. So he fought for Japan and against China. He used to uh, fight in Manchuria area, so to conquest Manchu area. So anyway, so the Park Jong-hee, and then the middle picture is Xi Jinping. So he's still leader in China. So China, Korea, and then the third picture is Chiang Jie-si. Chiang Jie-si is from Taiwan, so he was a Taiwanese leader. Right next to Chiang Jie-si, this one. He is President Lee of Korea. So these are the kind of representative leaders when we talk about development states. So it has a commonality among three, right? So the first commonality that I can talk about is that they have a kind of charisma, right? It's a very charismatic leader, three of them, and they are not a democratic leader. That's maybe the second commonality. Well, third commonality, they were in power quite a long time, right? And they, even though they are not democratically elected, but they were widely respected by people because of economic development. So let's talk about this first. So we talked about Japanese colonization period, right? Right. So from 1910 to 1945, and there was a short period of time occupation by U.S. and the USSR. So because of this occupation, the countries were divided into two, South and North. And then there was a Korean War from 1950 to 1953. So we have covered all this story. And then let's talk about economy performance. I want you to show this one because we want to know why Korea is so special or Taiwan is so special. So in 1960 per capita, GDP per capita is 883. That's very low, right? In 1989, it grows about 10 times, right? And then look at the growth rate. It's a 6.82. So when China was developed really fast, it was like sometimes it was like about 10%. Korea used to sometimes we our economic growth rate was more than 10%. So at that time, if you don't have to invest stock or something because interest rate was quite high. Like interest rate was like more than 10%. Then if you like save your money in the bank, think about like how much money will grow. Like 10%. That's a lot of money, right? And then look at Taiwan. Taiwan was a better ground, right? In a better position than South Korea. It was per capita per income GDP per capita was 1359, and then it grows faster than South Korea, and it became 8,207, and the growth rate was very similar to Korea. But look at the Ghana. So sometimes Ghana and South Korea, we compared, I mean, scholars compare the South Korea Ghana a lot because their starting points are relatively similar. So South Korea was 883, while Ghana is 873. But GDP per capita, if we look at the GDP per capita, then it's $815 per dollars. So if you look at like data of South Korea, then we can be sure that South Korea is much wealthier right now. But Ghana's GDP growth rate, if you look at the growth rate, is minus, right? So minus 0.54. So sometimes countries can retreat or retard it, right? It depends on like situation or leaders, or there must be a lot of different reasons. So we'll figure it out. And the Brazil also grow. I think the Brazil can be grow faster than this. I mean, after like from now on. I mean, Brazil is one of the countries where we think that it will grow in the future. And Mexico, if you look at the Mexico, it grows but not that much, right? So Argentina is now a very serious condition. So if you compare Argentina right now, maybe the number could be worse, but economic performance, in terms of economic performance, so South Korea is much better position. And this is the Ghana comparison between Korea and Ghana. So if you look at the growth, how much the country grows, the South Korea is absolutely better or faster, right? So that's why the South Korea, many scholars actually spend a lot of time why and how South Korea did that, and we will look at that for this class. And then this is growth rate. So we have two serious economic crisis in 1980. This actually it's because of 1979's oil shock. Because of 1979's oil shock, it became minus. That was, but it wasn't that serious because we cover really fast. But I mean, it wasn't that serious compared to 1997's economic crisis. So we had the economic crisis in 1997. It was very quite serious. It's because before 1997, things was totally different from now on. So in terms of like especially labor market has been completely changed. So economic structure has been completely changed after this after economic crisis. So we will look at that first. Uh, let's talk about state-led development. That's economy. When we say development state means state is a main actor for economic growth. So what's the difference between like other countries? So state is not a main actor for economic growth in Western society. Right now, as things change, so we will, of course, we might have a chance to talk about, but Western society believe that we shouldn't distort our market, right? So market works as it is. So for instance, like Adam Smith, right? So Adam Smith invisible hand. So there is supply and demand. So we don't government doesn't have to get involved this natural principles, right? So all government should do is actually to protect the market. That's it. So the government should make market works evenly, right? Fairly, and like the government should work like a police, right? So they have to monitor whether it is fair or not, right? So or the government should take a look at whether there is a uh, break the rules kind of things. So that's the believer. That's the free capitalism, right? So this Western society actually is a huge believer in free marketism, but state-led development is actually start by distorting market price. So government get involved pretty much, and then government make a plan as they want. So who make the plan usually? Like firms itself. So firms they should make their own plan. What kind of products they'll produce, how much they will produce. It depends on what supply and demand. So the government doesn't have to get involved anything of any of this, right? But the business they should decide what kind of product they'll produce and how they'll produce or how much they'll produce, kind of things. But state development actually ordered these things to the firms, and the firms follow as the state says. That's the principle of development state. So when we talk about development state, we call this state lead development. So it should be like market lead development in Western society or business lead development. But in Korea, it's different. It's a state lead development. So when we talk about state lead development, we should mention when we should know definitely Park Jong-hee. So Park Jong-hee was a Korean leader. So how did he get a power? How did he become came to power? By military coup. So he was a military. He was in military quite a long time, and he waged a military coup in 1961, May 16th. But that's how he got power. But it doesn't really matter how much. I mean, how he got power. Of course, it matters. But when we talk about economy, let's talk about that kind of things, other things later on. The first thing he did when ever since he got power, he made economy planning board. In Korean, it's a 경제기획원. So what's the role of economy planning board? That's the most important. So economy planning board thing is you cannot find out, you cannot find this very specific organization in other countries. It's a very Korean specific organization. Is it still alive? No, it abolished. It's completely gone. Now, who played this role? Ministry of Finance. So Ministry of Finance, they work for this kind of role instead of Economy Planning Board. Economy Planning Board was established, but you have to understand the uniqueness of this Economy Planning Board. So Economy Planning Board, in terms of hierarchy, so we have like a president, right? And then we have each ministries. So, but Economy Planning Board is upper level of this ministry. So there is uh, there is presidential and president, and then president office kind of things. And then right next to the president office, there was economic planning board, and the economic planning board was overarching organizations covering all kinds of ministries. So economic planning board was the most important organization during the economic development. And then the first thing he launched is for 5-year economic development plans. You should understand that I told you that how he got power, right? So he got power by coup, and then to justify his coup, and he criticized the politicians. He's saying like, oh, they got a power, but they didn't do anything, and people starved, and then our economy is really bad. So I didn't want to be. I didn't want to get a power, but I had to because of this situation. That's what he said. So he said that I will do my best to develop our country, and after I achieve economic development, I don't need any more power. So I'll just retreat. That's what he said. But he was in power about like 20 years. So, and then to justify to make people afraid of him or fear of him, so he used the concept of the rat, 빨갱이, 빨치산, the partisan, or the criticism of North Korea. So we were divided into two, and then many people at the time, the South Korean was afraid of attacking by North Korea. What if North Korea attacks South Korea again? So that was kind of one fear that South Korea felt, and then the Park Jong-hee actually used that. South Korea, if something bad things happen, then he always say it's because of North Korean or North Korean people or South Korean sympathizer. So he criticized that, and then he made a word 빨갱이. 빨갱이 means the red. The red symbolizes of this North Korea or Communist Party. So But the I why I do say this kind of things is because isn't it weird that he launched 5-year economic development plan, isn't it? Because he criticized North Korea a lot, but that means he doesn't like or he didn't like North Korea, and then he used this like kind of symbolism, the anti communist kind of symbolism and spirit. But for 5-year economic plan, development plan, actually, where did it come from? Actually, this is come from Soviet Union. Soviet Union started this 5-year economic development plan, and China actually followed, and North Korea followed as well. So this actually planning development plan by government is actually came from communist society, but he take advantage of this 5-year economic development plan, but at the same time he used the language of like anti-communism kind of things, and then he tortured a lot of people and killed a lot of people by criticizing he or she is the North Korean sympathizer to have more power, to maintain his power. So wanted to always criticize like people actually like appraised of him. So people, many, especially old people, including my dad. So my dad used to be a army, so he is very left. He's leftist, but he thinks that like Park Chung-hee contribute a lot for the country, and then mainly it's because of economic development. And then, but he doesn't even know 5-year economic development plan that he implemented is actually from the communist idea. And then how he could launch this economic plan is because Seungman Lee, he had this plan before to get money from the U.S. And the second reason, he used to actually the member of South Korean Communist Political Party. So many people actually didn't know about this, but isn't it weird that he used to be a member of Communist Party of North Korea? It's called Namnodang. But later on, he killed a lot of people in the name of like anti-communism kind of things. So 5-year economic plan, but because he was used to be a member, he knew this kind of plan, and then he thought that it will work. So that's why he launched the first 5-year economic plan. The weird thing he did is this nationalized banking system. So 96.4% of bank are nationalized. So what does that mean? What does this imply? Actually, isn't it very communist as well? Like, can you imagine like bank become the nationalized? That's kind of unimaginable right now, right? So nationalized banking system means this actually imply a lot of things. First thing, when you start your business, what do you need? What do you need most? Actually, money. You need investment. You need money to start your business. But if bank is nationalized, then you need money, right? So you have to go the bank and then borrow money from the bank. But that means actually you borrow the money from the government, right? The national nation. That means if nation doesn't like you or nation doesn't like your firm, then it's not easy to get money. But it's vice versa. If government like you, then it's so easy for you to borrow money from the government, right? So that means government actually can control the farm. So the first setting matters a lot because if the government nationalize bank, then the business cannot do many things. That's the first thing. And the second thing, planned, subsidized, and protected industries. So that's the what government did. So it's exactly the opposite way of development that Western society used to argue. So government planned how much we will develop. That's the goal. They set the goal, and then they second thing is they wanted to produce some like certain product. Then the government also set the goal like we will make this product for this year. How much? Like this much. So this is all planned. And then if firms started that kind of business, then government subsidize and protect the industry. So how can they subsidize? There are a lot of ways to do that. The first thing is we can put high tariffs on the imported product, or we don't have to import at all to protect that industry. Or the second thing is uh, tax tax benefits. So if you have farm, then you have to pay a lot of taxes. But if you don't have to pay taxes, then you can save a lot of money. That's the one way of subsidize, right? Or government can rent money with very low interest rate. That's also subsidized. Or the government directly fund, right? Fund to the farm. That's another way of subsidize. So what kind of ways the government use all of this? So they provide tax benefits, tax cut, and then or they invest directly. So they send the money or they gave money directly to the farm. And the third thing, they put tariffs to imported goods. That's the one of the way of protect industry. They did all kinds of things. Tariffs to protect high tariffs on imported product. That's impossible right now. So South Korea is a member of WTO, right? So it's not easy to put on high tariffs. That if we put on tariffs in a very high level, then the other states will exactly do the same thing. So these days tariff rates not that high, but I'll show you later. But like imported tariffs were like 80%, like that. So even though we import products, it's not easy to use because it's freaking expensive. So you're not gonna buy it, right? And then construction of Ulsan Industrial Complex begins. So that's the Ulsan industry. Ulsan, if you go to Ulsan and Pohang, you can see like a lot of heavy and chemical industry businesses. And why it started in Ulsan and the Pohang, it's like Gyeongsang area, right? Because he was born in Gyeongsang, in Gumi. So he has a lot of connections in Ulsan and Gyeongsang area. So Gyeongsang area actually got a lot of benefit during the development, while the Jeolla area wasn't. So that's another discrimination against the local areas, right? So construction of Ulsan actually could make heavy and chemical industry possible in South Korea as well. So how we should look at the state and business relationship. So state provide this tax breaks, what tax benefits. So you don't have to pay tax or they cut some tax. And the tariff protection, so you put a lot of high tariff rate on imported goods. That means domestic consumer cannot use this imported product. That's how we can protect our own productions, right? Or own product. And credit subsidized, so we can directly fund money, or the government built infrastructure. So Ulsan complex also, yeah, Ulsan industrial complex. For instance, that if you want to start your business, then you have to build factory first. That's how you start, right? But if governments built the complex, industrial complex with their money, then you can get a lot of benefit, right? So infrastructure actually is not just about road, railroad, or water kind of things. So this time, when we talk about like infrastructure, the government actually built this different kinds of infrastructure for the farms and devalue the currency. So if we devalue the currency, who devalued their currency recently? Like Japan, and then the America, US started to devalue their currencies, right? Then what's the benefit of it? It's so easy to export, right? So think about like Korea won became really cheaper. Then many people might come to Korea because Korean won became really cheaper, so they can travel with cheaper money. Or if Korean won became cheaper, then we can export a lot. But this is the way of distorting the market, right? It's so unfair. So think about like the situation that there's a lot of different firms, but some firms get tax benefits. Then that means they could save a lot of money. A lot that means save a lot of cost. Save a lot of cost means what? The product they or goods they produce might be or highly likely to cheaper than any other goods that other firms produced. Think about that situation. How can you compete against the firms which got a lot of tax benefits? Tariff production same, right? Or credit subsidized, that means you got a lot of money from the government. How can you win over? It's not easy to compete against that, right? Infrastructure same, devalue currency. So not only domestic, but also international way. The both they actually protect industry like this way.